Imagine waking up one day and realizing that you will never walk again, but rather navigate through everyday life from a seated position. Or that while you have been walking and doing pretty everything on your 2 feet since birth. To Yasinta Nangome, this is not just an imagination, but rather the reality of her life. Her story touched and inspired us deeply, so we set out very early one morning to Baraka to learn more about it. She was born without any disability, and she grew up doing the things that any child does, playing jingle janga, racing with wheels, and many more, until she grew up to early adulthood. However, fate had its own plans. In 2017, her life took an unexpected turn when she was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome, a debilitating condition that left her reliant on a wheelchair for mobility. Although Yasinta has personally been bold enough to embrace the life that happened to her, she highlights some challenges that persons with disabilities face beyond themselves. One such problem which gives people with disabilities a hard time is inaccessible designs.
When you're talking about accessibility of a facility, it starts with the outside of the facility. If it's a building, then we are starting from the car park. How accessible is our car park? Do we have a provision in our car park that has an allocation for a disability parking space?
It is an open secret. Many of our buildings in Malawi, including many public places and offices, remain out of reach for persons with disabilities.
Many buildings here in Malawi are not accessible to persons with disabilities. For example, we talk of schools, banks, and many other places.
Then we approach the building. What roads do we have leading to the building? The pavements accessible. So we look at the pavements that are not covered with, that are not slippery, that are not covered with sand, that are wide enough. For instance, if somebody is using a wheelchair. And also we look at pavements that will help somebody who is blind if they have tactiles.
And even in places like hospitals, where accessibility should have been a priority, the reality is often different.
Everybody struggles, man. Hey, I need someone to push me here. I need someone to push me because it's high. Yeah.
Although this part of the hospital was designed with a wheelchair ramp, the design is not up to standard, so much that Yasinta's wheelchair risks overturning when going up the ramp. This apparently is a problem arising from a lack of proper consultations.
When building our structures, be it schools or hospitals, we should try as much as possible to consult disability experts, so that when designing slopes or steps, they should know if a person with disability will be able to ascend and descend by themselves without depending on someone.
There have also been some guidelines and standards that government has put it in place through the Malawi Bureau of Standards. These are standards for accessibility for public buildings and facilities. So they guide this, provides a guide on how institutions or owners of buildings or constructors would actually do their adaptation, or as they are constructing, what they should follow, and all the required measurements they should undertake.
In the other sections of the hospital, she literally has to be carried if she needs to go there, as there are no ramps at all. One such section is the outpatients department.
Magombo. Sorry, you help me again. Like this. Bas, listen. Okay. Ziko mwambe, natogoza. Yeah.
Pankani ya zomangamanga zatu. Ndio ngomempa kuna kuti zomangamanga zatu.
About our buildings, for us who use wheelchairs, we are supposed to have accessible buildings with slopes and not steps. Some install elevators. So these designs are important for persons with disabilities to have access to the place.
According to the law, from now and the 5 years to come, owners of public buildings, those buildings that are available for use by the public, they have to adapt it. That's by law. If they don't do that within 5 years, they are going to face this law and their punishments for that.
After solving these external accessibility challenges, Yasinta has yet new puzzles to solve with the hospital's interior. In other sections, the rooms are too small for her to move around comfortably in the course of her duties.
Yeah, here due to space, so it find it difficult.
Due to space, it is difficult for me to work here because this space is small. So it depends on me squeezing the items together to create some space to assist patients who come in for implants.
That way, you don't need to.
Aside from the fact that the room is small, leaving equipment disorganized in the room creates even more challenges for Yasinta.
My friends arrange these things any way they want because to them the space is enough. But for me, I have to arrange them well.
Yeah.
When I arrange them like this, I am set to work on the client who has come for family planning. Yeah.
Again, an accessible facility has to have corridors that are wider, that can allow a person using a wheelchair to maneuver and move around without any problem. The corridors that are free from any obstacles. Normally, I think what we have observed in most of these offices, we not tend to put, say, all the chairs, books that we have printed, we put them in the corridors, and they give more space for movement.
The struggle doesn't end at work. Even at her own home, Yasinta faces similar issues. The ramp was just improvised and is consequently too steep. Just like at the hospital, she can't use it by herself.
Due to lack of staff houses, that's why you have seen that I'm renting that house. So Apparently, when building the house, the owner did not know that someone with a disability like me will use that house. Let me just ask that, if possible, it would be good if we could have hospital staff houses near the hospital, built putting into consideration the concept of accessible designs. That would make my life easy and help me to serve patients better.
Yasinta's story is one of resilience, but it is also a call to action. Inaccessible designs deny people their basic rights to independence and dignity. But change is possible, and it begins with recognizing the importance of inclusion.